So, greetings everyone, and welcome to the final webinar of the Tangent project. We hope you are able to gain the major insights from the developments within the project and also look forward to your active participation in the session. And now if you are able to see or hear me clearly, I would like to receive a thumbs up from you. To do that, you can use the emoticons on top of the bar of the Microsoft Teams. There you will also be able to see emojis during the webinar, so to express your immediate reaction on any particular slide or insight which you gain. And for that, we are happy to have your immediate reactions. Going forward, before we begin, we will look into the logistical aspects for the webinar. So this meeting will be recorded for publishing online and internal purposes. So keep that in mind. And if you have any questions, we will have a Q&A session, which you can see on top of your tab in the Q&A section. And just to have it started, it will start after the presentation. So I will quickly give an indication of the Q&A area. Just give me a second. Okay. So in the Q&A, you must see a prompt where I have written where you can insert your questions for the speakers. So while the presentation is going on, if you have something, you can directly put your questions for the speakers. And we can then carry forward with the questions after the presentation is over from the keynote speakers, and we carry forward our discussions with that. Yeah, and then going back to the webinar with the Q&A session, the details were shared, and we will quickly go towards what is the project Tangent for the newcomers who have been in the previous webinars. So this is the fourth webinar in the series, and with the project Tangent, it aims to develop new complementary tools for traffic operations in coordinated and dynamic way. There are different KPIs which we are focusing on, and these relate to reduction in travel time, reduction in carbon emissions, carbon accident emissions, reduction of accidents, and also increase in public transport. Considering the partners, they represent several European countries, and to have a more in-depth on what we look into, that will be shortly presented by our project coordinator. And before that, just to show you what is the aim of the webinar series is basically to have and engage stakeholders and experts in a thematic discussions, to have an exchange and also future market uptake for the project's results. So that will be a great opportunity when we have Q&A sessions. So if you have any insights, so that will be really good to have. What do you think, and what do you have any questions regarding the tool development or the case study implementation regarding the domain of this webinar? What does the agenda look like? So we will start with the Tangent project goals, which will be presented by the project coordinator, Larry, followed by a poll where we have a Mentimeter poll, and you'll be able to look into how we will have a first insight before the first presentation, followed by the presentation by Thiago with a Q&A, followed by the second presentation, which will be on case study implementation by Lucy from ID4 Mobility, and then the Q&A followed by the second poll and concluding remarks. Before we start with the first presentation, I would like to introduce our project coordinator, who is Larry, and she is a European projects manager at Dovestotech in mobility and transport. She's also an industrial management engineer, and since 2013, she is in charge of promoting international projects in the area of intelligent transport systems, particularly in EU framework programs Horizon Europe, it's 2020. And she also has over 15 years of experience in coordination and management of European R&D projects, currently coordinating Tangent and also leading team on Horizon 2020 project and lead management and operation aspects of Logistar. And also she participates in other European projects such as Conductor, Synchro Mode, Momentum, and Drive to the Future. And with that, I would like to hand over the screen to Larry. So
Okay, thank you, Laxia,
thank you.
for the introduction. So I will share now my slides. Okay. Can you see now?
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
need to do the
Okay,
slideshow.
in presentation mode?
Not in the presentation
Not in
mode,
presentation mode. Now, yes.
Not yet, later.
No?
We are seeing the PowerPoint window
Yeah,
with the
without
presentation.
I don't know how the other times also happened. Compartir. Okay, now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now it works.
let's go ahead.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Okay, so yeah, I will shortly introduce Tangent project. Tangent was presented to the Call of Mobility for Growth in 2020 for the topic of traffic management. It has a EU contribution of 4.8 million euros, is managed by Cinea, and it has a duration of 39 months. It's finalizing now in November. The work has been performed by a consortium of 13 partners from 9 different countries, and here you can see their logos. We have from academical partners, IT providers, consulting companies, and of course also the stakeholders that are mainly councils or transport operator managers. Okay, so if we go to the overall concept, Tangent aims to develop new tools for optimizing traffic management operations in a dynamic way and from a multimodal perspective. Here in the picture you can see that we gather data from different sources, as can be infrastructure sensor data, cabs or floating car data, other open data related to transport and mobility, and we process it with different data processing technologies. For delivering ICT services for transport managers, that it will help on the decision making for transport and traffic operations. So one of the modules that we have developed is travel behavior modeling, that is focused on studying travel patterns from the different users, knowing their needs, also knowing which are their motivations for selecting one mode or choosing one route or the other. We have also a module of traffic network prediction and simulation. We have been working on predictive models for demand and supply in different time horizons ahead. And for that, we have studied different factors, as could be seasonality, time of the day, price of the trip, and so on. And finally, we have the transport network optimization module, that at the end, this module delivers a set of functions for improving transport and traffic operations in different time frames. Here you can see the 3 key outputs or services that are delivered to the transport authorities. These are the enhanced information service for multimodal transport management, the real-time traffic management services, and the tool for transport network optimization for transport authorities. All of them has been tested in real environment, and also some of the functionalities in simulated. We have the support of 4 cities, Lisbon, Greater Manchester, Rennes and Athens. In the case of Athens, is a virtual case study. Okay, now going to the results or the services. Well, here in this slide, you can see the Tangent dashboard and API. Well, this is a visualization tool that delivers real-time information, gathering information of which is the state of the transport network, if there is traffic congestion, if it's free flow. It also delivers different ratios, such as the average travel times. In the case of, for example, if there are any alerts or accidents, are also shown in this dashboard. And it also provides predictive information, such as related to traffic congestion, bottlenecks, or expected demand for different means of transport. The second service, well, this is an example. Well, at the end, here we have the situation of that there is a big event in a peri-urban area of a given city. So how Tangent helps to, let's say, restore the overall transport network. So for that, Tangent will encourage the cooperation among the different transport actors, can be, for example, bus operator, metro, demand responsive transport services, and it will deliver response plan or set of actions for adapting and adjusting different transport operations to restore to the transport the sooner possible. So, for example, the system can deliver different recommendations to passengers to select certain routes or to increase the usage of certain modes of transport. And the third service, that is the simulation of predefined scenarios for strategic planning, is addressed to support the decision makers at the strategic level for delivering policies or response plans. So here what we have defined for the different case studies are hypothetical scenarios that are simulated. So we identify a premise and we identify which could be a potential response from the point of view of the transport system. So here you can see two cases that we have actually addressed in the project. The first one is what if the frequency and capacity of certain bus lines is increased? How does it affect to the rest of the transport network? Or what if cars with more than one person have priority on certain lanes? So yeah, that's it from my part.
Thank you so much for your overview of the project. I think that's a really nice short summary of what Tangent has proceeded in these years and what we look forward to in the presentations upcoming from Tiago and Lucy. And so thank you so much for your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, we go towards the first poll of the webinar, and I'll quickly share the screen. Yeah. So regarding the first poll, I'll share the Mentimeter, and it will be focusing on the questions before we jump into the first presentation. So the QR code is there, and we can then look into the first question. So if you are able to see the QR code, we can jump into the thumbs up reaction on the Mentimeter. Okay, we are having people join in. And there should be a first question popping up on your Mentimeter, and the question is visible. So let me just again quickly share the screen on the Mentimeter. So the question is, which tools, it can be digital or even on-site, do they come to your mind in relation to traffic management solutions when considering the term traffic management? It can be physical or it can also be digital. So, all right, we are having traffic management centers as one of the inputs, floating car data, control center room, Atlas sensors, VMS, ATMs, floating. Okay, so I think initially you started with traffic management center, so the traffic counters being the sensor or the initial aspects from where the data is collected. So that's a quick overview of what tools we look into based on the traffic management solutions. So I believe on the basis of sensors and how we visualize them, so that will take us to the first presentation of what we look into. And regarding that, I will then quickly move forward to the next part of the session. Just let me share my screen again. Right. So considering the webinar 4 speakers, we have two. First presentation will be given by Tiago Diaz from A2B, and the second presentation will be presented by Lucy Tristan from ID4 Mobility. Just a quick introduction for our two speakers. Tiago, with his extensive experience in traffic management, ITS, and operations centers since 2004. Tiago has managed A2B's Atlas traffic management product until 2018, where he joined A2B's innovation team. And right now, Tiago is also managing research projects in dynamic management of multimodal traffic, V2X, CM, and computer vision. And regarding the second presenter, who is Lucy Strand, she is also an European. She's a European project manager at ID4 Mobility. She is an electronics engineer by the National Institute of Applied Science and specialized in innovation and transformation by Centrale Supplec. Since 2019, she has been managing innovation projects in the field of automotive and mobility for a variety of organizations, automotive supplier, ranging from automotive supplier, public transport operator clusters. And since 2023, she has been working on European projects, Horizon 2020 and Horizon projects for the French mobility cluster ID4 Mobility, with Tangent being a work package leader and the Carbomile. With that, I welcome our two speakers. And for the presentations, I would quickly share, I would like Tiago to take the stage. And with that, you can share your screen, Tiago.
Thank you very much, Laksha. Let's start, and good afternoon, everybody. Let's start with a quick introduction into our tool, into our integrated tool and our system. Just to give you a quick overview and a grasp of how things work within the tool and the functionalities that we have, recapping a little bit what Larry has already presented. We start with the very important step of collecting data and harmonizing data. This is done by our partner, Jeffriel. We have a data API in what we call Service 0, this S0, where we integrate with the Tangent the Tangent API within what we call Service 1. This part has been developed by us, A2B, and it includes a dashboard for visualization. And this gives us our first functionality, which is monitoring the live data and the live traffic of the network. I'll show you in the demo how we do it, the options that we took. But here I want to highlight the main functionalities and how they work together. So also in Service 1, but from another work from another partner in the project, from IMEC, we have a data processing solution where we have several forecasting models, and we are able to introduce forecast data into the dashboard. And we will see that how that data fits really aside with live data and enhances the monitoring experience in the dashboard. So this is it for Service 1. We then move into more advanced, let's say more advanced services, although they build upon the same user interface that we are using for monitoring, as you'll see. Here we have a more complex solution where in Service 3 we have simulation and optimization tools that run on simulation models, and this is a partnership work from Deusto, NTUA, and IMSUN. And here, I think in the dashboard, it will become more obvious once I show you the different types of plans, and I'll explain each one of those. But for my point here, basically, we are creating a set of response plans with actions that can be taken once specific conditions occur in the network. For example, we can prepare for a flood and we will have a plan for a flood. The traffic simulation model will produce and will try to optimize the actions that we can take with traffic lights, with changing the scheduling of bus lines, etc. All of these will be optimized for a specific case, and we will have a library of these kinds of plans within the tool. Well, this is it for service 3, the planning stage. Then we come back into service 2 and more again on the dashboard. So we have the incident management, the actual feature for incident management, where we are able not only to monitor but to apply these response plans and execute the actions. And through a live monitoring of the situation, we are able to accompany and to make sure that the situations are solved by applying these plans. Well, I think this is to give you a good grasp of the tool and how the different modules integrate together and the flow that they have from data to incident management. But it will be much clearer, at least for me, to show you in a live demo. So I'm just changing my screen here to the tangent tool. Let me log in, and I always like to press F11 to maximize and have a full screen tool. And we've just entered the dashboard for the city of Rennes. We have the 4 case studies available here. We can explore and so the monitoring feature. We can take a look at the monitoring feature here in the dashboard. Let's take a closer look here at this main dashboard for Rennes. We have more dashboards, but let's start with this one. We are already seeing the maps. So we have map content for the city, different views. I'll explain those. We also have indicators here on our top right. Basically, this can be citywide, so we have the average road speed for the entire city of Rennes, at least where we have data from. So this is the average road speed. This is a very interesting indicator, as if it lowers, we are able to notice that the city is dragging and having more trouble with its entire flow. But of course, we need more granularity, and we do have that on the maps. For example, we can see on this main map that we combine data from the road traffic with also with public transport information and even some calculated data about incidents. Let's go through them individually. We can take a look at what we are seeing on the dashboard. So we are seeing the bus locations. The buses here are represented in a color-coded way. So the color they show is relative to their delay. And I can click, for example, I know that this is closer to orange in this case. So this bus will have a somewhat of a delay. And if I click it, I get more information. I even get the expected evolution of this predicted delay for the next 30 minutes and 1 hour, for example. We also know that there are some incidents on the line that this bus is traveling on. So this also justifies the red marker above the buses, but there are incidents in several lines at this point. But I can also tell that this other bus, for example, as it's greener very quickly, I know that it has a much less of a delay. So it's even 3 seconds ahead of schedule in this case. But the prediction is that it will get delayed quite some time. Well, this is it for the buses, but we also have information here with color coding for the average speed in very specific, in very granular road segments. This is fantastic if we want to take a closer look and understand the intersections and the dynamics of these intersections live. We can also click the data and get more information about the average speed and travel time delay, for example, even the length of of these sections. We can see that on this detail. But for a quicker view, we opted to also introduce into this dashboard, and I'll show you that these dashboards are fully customizable. But we created this one, and it stayed, so I think it was a good option. Here on the right, we have a heat map view of exactly the same traffic average speed, the road average speed, but through the heat map, as it aggregates and shows in a more visual way, a more less granular way, it's very, very easy to understand the problem spots on the city. So we can notice that in this area there's quite some issues here. Not so much, for example, in the south, we also have an area here with some issues in this area, but these other ones are more, I also see red in this map, but the heat map tells me that this is not so relevant as this other accumulation in this area. So I think it was also a very interesting tool that we introduced in terms of visualization. Well, here in the dashboard, we also have some more calculated data, not coming from directly from the sources, but in this case, we are forecasting using the traffic data that we have. We are forecasting, we are identifying and calculating problem spots where congestion is happening. So these are possible accidents, but at least there's queuing and congestion here. So we can also check that with the travel time data behind them and confirm. But this is the way that we are including not only the live data, but also calculated and forecast data. And for example, here we have the average road speeds estimated in 1 hour's time. This is a forecast, and this is highlighted here in the dashboard, and it helps operators be able to understand the expected evolution of some of these indicators and even take measures to solve that. We also have that visualization for the road travel time forecast here in the map, and I had already showed you the way that we are showing the forecasts for the travel time for the buses, for example. Well, as I told you, this is all customizable in the platform, so we can create other dashboards. We can customize the widgets. We can change, for example, the zoom level, the base map. We can use other kinds of base maps that we have available on the platform. Furthermore, and more interesting, we can filter data. For example, we can quickly filter data for specific regions. We can even create or edit existing regions, for example, and we filter data. This is the area that our case study and our tests and our trials focused on here in Rennes. So you notice that all the other data from the rest of the city disappeared. It allows us to focus data here. We can do this on the map. We can do this on indicators. And I'll show you quickly a dashboard with this highlighted. We can also change the data sources. So I could also add here the lines for the traffic anomalies that are being detected in this section. For example, I can remove the representation of, for example, I can remove representation of the case study area or the bus stops or even the vehicles or the buses altogether. Well, but I'm not going to save this. I was just showing you how easy it is to edit or even create a new widget in the platform. So, and I had already promised, I know, to show you here some other dashboards that are already customized and focused on specific parts of the city. Again, I think this one it's loading here the main map, and it's focused on the case study area, excluding the section here on a ring road where speeds are usually higher and congestion doesn't usually accumulate there too often. So we are really focusing on this Rue de Lorient, which is one of the main avenues driving, or the main roads that are driving through the case study area, and it allows us to focus really the case study area. Well, this is just an example, and we've been looking into monitoring, forecasting, and I think now with this possibility to create these specific dashboards for specific parts of the city, it makes even more sense to go and show you how the planner works and the types of plans that we have. Basically, the planner tool adds so the city that we were only monitoring now is actionable. We can do things in the city. We can change traffic light patterns. We can change the bus routes. Of course, this was tested to a given extent within the project. We are not able to do this citywide, or usually we do simulations to evaluate the results of this. But the platform could do it in the end, and we are working with 4 different types of plans. We have 2 plans that are very similar, the cooperative response plan and the response plan. Basically here, let's start with the response plan. We have a transport model of the city where we introduce the possibility to simulate specific situations like a flood, or even just a concert or an event that's around a specific venue that has a traffic pattern that we even observed in the past, for example. So we can have that model. We send the parameters to the model and ask for some KPIs, some results that we want to get out of the model. We execute that simulation model, and it will optimize a response plan to cope with the flood or the event that we are planning for. I will show you one of these executed. Actually, I think it will be the cooperative response plan, because the major difference here, okay, we have the optimized response plan and actions to apply to the city, and then we are able to define a dashboard, and we are able to prepare everything to start managing incidents with these plans. The difference here for the cooperative response plan is that the response plan is usually done only by a single entity, by a single stakeholder, be it a bus operator or a road operator. And in the case of a cooperative response plan, we are working with several stakeholders, and they do need to cooperate to select the actions and to further optimize the actions after the simulation has given its results, for example. So it's a cooperative plan. Well, we then go here into the simulation. Simulation doesn't produce a response plan, doesn't reproduce actions. It only shows what would happen. It's exactly the what if tool that Larry was mentioning. So we can simulate different scenarios and visualize in the dashboard what would be the results of doing those scenarios. Let's see if I can give you an example of that without taking too much time. But just to finish, with the simplest plan that we have, actually the dissemination plan is the simplest one. Basically, in the dissemination plan, we don't have a transport model. We don't use a transport model. We simply create a set of conditions that we monitor on the city. For example, we can start a dissemination plan after the average road speed in a specific section of the city goes below a certain threshold, and simply we produce a notification in the dashboard, and we are able to share and create a message that can be shared with end users through apps, or can even only be used by operators in the transport room, but without suggesting a response plan. So it's the same basis for the cooperative response plan and for the response plan, but without the actions that are proposed automatically by these plans and coming from the simulation component. Well, I'm going just to give you a quick glimpse of one such plan. Let's take a look. I have here in REN, I have here a cooperative response plan, and this is for the case study area. And we are going, so we are seeing it in view mode. So I'm going back to the first step of the plan. Here it's just setting the elements, so the entities that will have access and will see the plan. Let me jump through this step, and then I want to show you this one. These are the conditions. This is when the plan and the incident, not the plan, but the plan will be used to trigger an incident. So these are our conditions, and this is continuously monitored in real time for the city. This can be indicators for the entire city or for specific areas. These two ones are focused on the case study area. for example. And when both of these occur, it could also be disjunction. So we could also have other way to go through this. But once, in this case, it's and. So when both of these occur, an incident will appear proposing that the response plan that we will see in the step 5 here will be applied. Okay, just to show you this third step, we define the transport model. We parameterize the transport model. So we identify the transport model that's used. We tell it that, for example, it's very important to optimize the flow of public transport. These weights are the KPIs that I mentioned. The congestion is not so important, but emissions and congestion are at the same level. So we parameterize everything to execute the model. We can even try several plans or several steps with different parameters to see different results and opt for the best one. Well, the optimization runs. It takes quite some time, and then sorry. And then we come back to after the optimization is done, we are able to look at the results. So we can compare the KPIs. We can see what the optimization is solving. And in this case, we have a huge decrease in the public transport delay, as we were asking in the weights, and also a significant reduction in the emissions, but a slight increase in road congestion. And just to show you how we can see visually, for example, we can see that this congestion is appearing in the roads connecting in these two entrance sections into the Rue de l'Orient. You see, this is what was before, and this is the expected result after the optimization. And we notice visually that this travel speed will become lower than it was before, for example. So it's really useful to have the visualization tool showing us information from here. Well, just to give you, I'll skip the parts where the different stakeholders are reaching consensus. I'll go straight to the dashboard. So we define where the operators will be able to visualize this. And let me just move back into the dashboard and show you finally where in the dashboard the operators will see this. This is the visualization. Okay, once the conditions that we had set are met, this will trigger and there will be a notification in the dashboard, and the users will be able to follow and even to chat in real time about the situation, and they are able to apply the response actions that were set by the plan. So I think I was only able to show you one of the different types of plans that we have, but I think it's obvious that we are using and coming back to the dashboard and to the monitoring functionality. It's key in this tool, but we are coming with much more capability with the response actions and all of that available. Well, and I think, Lakshya, this is all I wanted to show in not too much time. But I think you can take it from here now. And thank you.
Thank you so much, firstly, Thiago, I know it's a short time, but still you were able to show so many functionalities and go through the tangent dashboard tool. So I'm pretty sure everyone had a quick insight of what we developed in the project. And going the Q&A, I believe this opens up a nice session for the audience. So if you have any questions, you can directly put it in the Q&A session of the webinar. You can see it on the Q&A as well on top of the bar of Microsoft Teams. So, and I see there is already one question which was directed to you, Thiago. So if I may read, the question is, this question came while you were presenting. So it was in calculating the road delay, particularly at intersections, is it with respect to free flow conditions or what is expected based on historical average?
Yes, the road delay here, for example, here in the city of Rennes, we are calculating in relation to the to the free flow conditions. We have, for example, in Manchester, we do have a different perspective. So the data that we collected from the beginning already has some calculations done, and it shows also the road deviation. They don't call it delay; they call it deviation in this case in Manchester, and it's the difference between the typical travel time at this time of the day at that location and the current travel time, and that is very interesting to detect anomalies such as accidents and other situations. But in the case of Rennes, we are using just the delay against the free flow conditions. What we do is we have an algorithm that tries to identify a model that tries to identify situations where queuing is occurring. That's a good question, and thank you, Mehmet, for that question.
All right, thank you. That was a quick response, and I hope Mehmet was satisfied. But if there are still more questions, we also have other platforms which you can discuss. And is there any other question from the audience? We still have 2 more minutes. If not, I think I can just quickly drop in just as a general overview.
Actually, maybe I think another one from Nuno Rodrigues just arrived.
Okay.
So maybe I can read
yes.
and see if I can answer. Is it correct that the tool provides actions advice to each of the stakeholders, service providers? Can you show an example of the advice? Well, I could go back and quickly show you, but I think it's easier. Okay, you've stopped sharing, Lexi, so I can share again. I can go back here. I think in the planner it's easier for me to show you this. We have that. Sorry, here for review. We have this. Basically, we are using JSON all throughout the platform. We didn't go into the technological part, but here we have, for example, in this JSON, this is the response actions that are proposed by the optimization process. And what this does is it has actions to be applied in the bus lines, and it proposes specific intervals for these 4 bus lines in Rennes. So these are 4 bus lines going through the Route Lorient. And then it also proposes a change to the traffic control plan. It is a traffic control plan for a specific intersection, and it has a set of phase durations. The meaning of this is dependent on this specific intersection and on the programming of the traffic control plan, but that's also input into the model, and we could now go and apply these changes. But also it's possible that, for example, the stakeholder that is in charge of managing the road can come here and say, okay, this 3 seconds or or this 3 minutes is too long for the plan or is too short for the plan at this stage, and it can change this aspect, because at this stage the tool is not yet ready to be fully automated. It produces automatic suggestions, as you said, but the idea is to have human validation and have human in the loop in this decision, and use it as a decision support system, not as a fully automated system at this stage. But I hope we were able to address your question, Nuno, and thanks again for it. And sorry, Lakshya, I don't know if you wanted to ask something else.
No, I think it is perfect when we have direct questions from the audience, okay. So it gives a direct insight towards the tool. But I think we're running out of time, so I will again thank you, Thiago, for your presentation, but also to address the questions which were asked by the audience. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. And with this, I will shift to the second presentation for the webinar, which will be presented by Lucy from ID4 Mobility. So I will give the platform to you, Lucy, and you can share your screen and you can start with the presentation.
Thank you very much, Lakshya. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. So this presentation is to give you an overview of the case study implementation. As you already know, because it was presented before, we have 4 case studies in Tangent: Greater Manchester, Rennes, Lisbon, and Athens. But for today, I will only focus on the results from Greater Manchester, Rennes, and Lisbon has attended this virtual case study. The elements tested and the methodology applied is a bit different, so I will focus on the non-virtual case studies for today. So how have we done the tests? So you have seen the very beautiful platform from Thiago's screen just before. And in order to test these dashboards, we have assessed the different functionalities for the last 6 months. And we have done it progressively once each functionality was integrated to do it iteratively. We have used 2 types of formats to assess the functionalities. So for the simpler, let's say, functionalities to assess, such as the monitoring, we used online surveys, questionnaires sent to the case studies. But for the more complex functionalities, we use virtual meetings because sometimes it was really useful to get the feedback or the inputs of some technical partners. The functionalities needed to be explained, so meetings were more appropriate. And during these tests, we try to assess 3 aspects of the dashboard. The first one is the usability of the dashboard. So it means the user experience, the user interface, how it is easy or to use or understand the dashboard. Then we assess the accuracy of the elements. So as you saw, there are some maps, some KPIs, indicators. A preliminary work has been done with the technical partners before to really assess the technical results in a more quantitative way, but here it's really to assess in a qualitative way that the elements presented are accurate. And the third aspect is the compliance with the initial requirements of the case studies. As in the beginning of the project, each case study has listed their expectations, their requirements regarding the different functionalities and services of the tool. So a quick overview of the different results, first on the dashboard for the usability. So all of the case studies have assessed that the dashboard is really easy to use. The user interface is pretty smooth, as you saw. The different elements that are displayed are really clear, really relevant. Thiago has showed that it's possible to customize, and the case studies have said that the customizer is really powerful. It is really good to adapt the tool to a various range of users, from traffic operators to transport managers to more strategic decision makers. We have some elements that are more complicated to read or to display. It depends on the case studies, on the data, but for example, public transport and incidents needs to be worked a bit different to see how to really display the information. And overall, the dashboard is complex, but in a good way, and rich in terms of possibilities with the planner and the customizer. So it requires time and training to handle it, so it has to be taken into consideration. Then on the accuracy of the elements displayed, so it really depends on the case studies, the elements to display, but also the scenarios of use. Because we have assessed the dashboard under different types of scenarios. So we have baseline scenarios, which are peak hours during the morning and the afternoon. We have some planned events. For example, for Rennes, it was football games or the beginning of holidays. The accuracy really depends also on this type of parameters. Obviously, the availability, the diversity, and the reliability of the data sources are really crucial to have sufficient range of elements to visualize, but also accurate elements also. And the dashboards also need to be perfectly customized, which goes with the last point of the usability, to avoid wrong understanding and wrong comparison of the elements, especially indicators. For example, at one step, we had the current speed in an indicator for the overall city. Next to it, we had another KPI, which was the forecast speed, but on a really specific zone, the case study zone. So at first, it was really weird to see that in 30 minutes, the speed would be really decreasing, whereas we were not during peak hours, but it was because it was different geographical areas. So the customizer is really powerful, but we need to really handle it to avoid wrong understanding of the different indicators. Different lessons learned and the next steps for each city. So for the Rennes case study, the Tangent project, but also the Tangent tools have improved the multi-actor collaboration. First, thanks to the different workshop activities led by Ruprecht and in other dimensions of the project, but also the different demonstrations that we provided to the different actors, because in Rennes, such as in other cities, we have different types of local stakeholders that are working on common areas of the city, and they were already working together, but not as much as they would have wanted to work in more collaboration. So the Tangent project really boosted the way they will work together. So one of the next steps of Rennes is to increase these working groups or different types of meetings with the local stakeholders to improve this multi-actor traffic management activity. The second aspect that Rennes really highlighted is the importance of the level of quality and availability of the different types of data. Because Rennes has provided lots of data sources, mainly from their open data platform, but some of these data sources were not reliable enough to work with them. So one of the next steps for Rennes is also to rethink the way the data is collected or shared to make sure that all the data is easy to use by third parties for diverse types of projects. And finally, Rennes last lessons learned is that Tangent really helped to have a broader vision on the different technical specifications, the innovation on traffic management in general, and the functionalities they could ask in the future on their own traffic management system. So it's also one of the next steps is to rethink the traffic management system and its usage once they will aim to change their traffic or update their traffic management system. So these are the main lessons learned of Rennes. Regarding Lisbon, still on the collaboration, the local stakeholders are really interested in adopting a more automated process for innovation and information exchange. As you see, Tangent is a single platform where all the events of the city are gathered, are displayed. So this type of solution can be the answer to the request of the local stakeholders to have a global vision of what is happening on the network. The second point is also on data. Tangent really helped to systemize Lisbon's existing real-time data sources. And two aspects are really highlighted here. The first one is the legal aspect, because some critical data sources from Lisbon that were needed to feed the Tangent tools were proprietary or deemed sensitive by the owners. So there was also great work on the legal aspects, and it highlighted the fact that it's not as easy as it seems to use data for collaborative work. and also on the technical aspects that some pre-existing open data sources were not reliable enough to be used on the long term. And the last aspect Lisbon highlighted here is that Tangent was really great to interact with other cities, so Rennes, Greater Manchester, but also Athens in a different way. All the cities were able to share their traffic management challenges, and it's also introduced Lisbon stakeholders to new solutions in traffic management and also data collection. And finally, Greater Manchester case study, lessons learned. So the Tangent tool really improved the operational capabilities with real-time insight to respond more efficiently as everyone has the same level of information. It's easier to be more responsive when an incident happens. And linked to that, we have the second point, which is the dissemination of key elements. The fact that the same level of information is shared to all the stakeholders at the same time, but with also a more automated process, is really less time consuming than trying to contact everyone to share the information, forgot to contact someone. So having this automated is a really bonus for Greater Manchester. Then again, about the data, Tangent really demonstrated that the operational value of shared data and the information across different actors. So it really emphasized the importance to collect and share different types of data regarding traffic and transport management. And finally, Tangent broadened the understanding of the future of transport management. It offered valuable insights for shaping operation strategy, technology adoption, and enhance the existing systems. So as a conclusion, you have noticed that we have several topics in common with the 3 case studies. So the first one is that Tangent really highlighted the value of multi-actor collaboration for traffic and transport management in a city. Then the importance of having open and reliable data. Then we have that Tangent really helped understanding the future of traffic management system. And in the end, the interaction with other cities were really valuable to all the case studies to understand global challenges in the EU. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you, Lucy, for your wonderful presentation on the case studies. And with that, I will open the floor for the Q&A session for the audience. If you have any questions considering the case studies in Tangent while Lucy was sharing the presentation, if you have any, you can drop down your questions in the Q&A, as was done for the first presentation. And so we'll just wait. I don't think anything question was asked while you were presenting. So we'll wait in case there are any questions which drops from the audience. And meanwhile, we just to have the conversation going, Lucy, considering your reflection on the case study implementation, what do you think were the key challenges which could hinder the upscaling in the future from the solutions presented by Tangent, or what steps do you think we can are needed to overcome these challenges?
In a really short term, I'm thinking of continue testing the tool, and even if we have lots of months to assess the tool, in a really short term, it could be a great value to continue pushing the tools to its limits. But in a more, let's say, long-term approach, some case studies, from some case studies perspective, they would be interested in having this kind of tool in their system. But as they already have lots of tools and software, they were saying that it would be really it would be better to have the tangent tool integrated in some other tools, such as a plugin or an add-on. So it would be easier to handle, and instead of having another layer of tool. So it could be an approach for the future of tangents, and collaborate with techno providers to integrate the functionalities or the services of tangents.
Yeah, I think which you also shared how REN also like some cities also learn from other cities while through tangent project, like what data or what this quality of data they have already, or how they need to improve on it just to have a better influence of the tools which are being developed. So I think that was a nice insight which we also learned during the project. And while we are still waiting, we can just keep the discussion going. Just a last question for you before I jump forward. So do you think, in considering there are new cities who want to implement tangent solutions, so what can be the maybe key prerequisites according to you, which you learned from these case studies?
Yes, so as it was already highlighted several times, having data to share is really crucial, I think, to be able to have a dashboard and visualize different aspects of the network, traffic or transport. So this is one aspect. There is also some specificities by countries, I think. I'm from France, so of course I have this in mind. But for example, in France, there is a specific protocol for traffic management systems, and some tool. I mean, the tools that are compatible with the French protocols are less than 10. Of course, you can have web service or things like that, but this maybe it's more related to the first question actually, but this is also something to take into consideration, that each country has its own yes, protocols and way of functioning. So it's one tool cannot be compatible to all of the cities and all of the countries, but it really depends on how it is integrated. And yeah, but yes, I think that data is the key aspect also.
Yeah, I think that reminds me also from the discussion before how some countries, for example, even Netherlands, they have this national data warehouse where I think different organizations are invited to share their data or have this protocol of storing the data and collecting the data and have those standardized aspects to it. So I think that step-by-step process of how we first set up the foundation and then share between the cities is one of the approaches, which can at least on a national scale and then international scale go forward with the upscaling aspects. But with that, I would really thank you for your presentation, Lucy. It was a nice discussion, but also the presentation which you shared from Tangent case studies. And with that, I would quickly go towards the last aspects of the webinar. And all right. So concluding remarks and the next activity. So considering Tangent project will end is coming to its end. So we have finally concluded with the 4 webinars, including this one, which was on the integrated tool for cooperative traffic management and results of the case study implementation. For people who still want to keep to stay connected with what tools, what the discussion we had in the webinar, we will have the summary uploaded on a platform which is on Tangent Forum. So there, for how to join them, I will give the information in the chat shortly, just while I'm presenting the slides. But before that, I would like to take you to the second poll, and I'll quickly share my screen again on a different Mentimeter. So if you can see my screen, it must be showing you the same code. And for the second poll prompt with 85304754, the menti.com. If you use the code, there's a thumbs up, and it's just to have a revision of the question or the overall webinar. So we just want to see what highlights did you find interesting from the webinar, considering the tool, but also from the case study implementation. What do you take back, or what was more important according to you with the tool aspects which were discussed or shown by Tiago, and also looking into different aspects of the tools and what are the numerous possibilities which were shown in Tangent, but at the same time also what the case study aspects were shared by Lucy. So if you have any highlights to share, we would be happy to have your responses. But I think people are still trying to connect on Mentimeter. So I'll keep it open for a few minutes. It's okay, we have responses, dashboard with heat map, and integration with forecasting. I think that's also just Thiago. You also shared some of it during your live demonstration with the heat mapping, and also having the forecasting aspects, which really helps to have those response plans ready in advance in case we can foresee those situations taking place in some parts of the city. So I think that was one response we got considering the highlights. And there's also the workflow for the cooperative response plan. So how we start from the beginning, and considering, I also believe having all those different stakeholders in place in one platform, that also helps to have a more direct response, more cooperative, having the cooperative aspect to the response plans, because we don't need it to be more biased in its approach. So I believe that aspect is also highly important. While having response plans is important, but having it done in a cooperative way, considering all the stakeholders, is equally important, so that it does not have a biased influence on the overall outputs. We have another response, which is focusing on the integration of several data sources from different environments. I believe that is also some next step, which we considering the multimodal traffic management, where we have different modes of transport and they have different sources, and we also have to take into consideration different standards. So, and also considering with a revised EU ITS directive and the MMTIS and other regulations and directives within the European Union, I believe this is a constant cycle where we always keep on seeing how we integrate different multimodal data sources and make sure that those environments are considered while we are tackling traffic management for the city. But I think these are some really good feedback which we got from the audience, but the meter is still on, and good dissemination of the importance of cooperation. That is also an important highlight which we got from people. If you're considering the implementation, the case studies can provide a foundation for building practical, data-driven approaches tailored to specific multimodal challenges within your network. Okay, so we have got a nice set of responses from the audience considering today's webinar on Tangent 2 and the case study implementation. So it includes both the practical aspects, but also the digital aspects of how we look into solutions focusing on traffic management. And with that, I will quickly also just try to share the final slides of today's webinar. I won't take too much time. I know it's been almost an hour mark. And just to get back to the Tangent Forum, we are still having the platform open for people. And I will quickly share the information regarding how you can participate or still be part of the forum, so that you can stay connected with whatever information we share regarding the data. So let me just share it in the chat. So if you see the chat, you will have my email address, where you can see how you can get the information more on the Tangent Forum. So you can write me an email and I can provide you limited access to discussion forums and also more information on the case studies of how the Tangent is going forward. And also you can, if you have missed the previous webinars, you can access all the summaries from the previous webinars on the Tangent Forum as well. And the platform is Mobility Academy. You can have a brief look to the web links provided. So just write me an email in case you want to be part of the Tangent Forum, and we'll provide you access regarding the Tangent and the dissemination materials. This is just a brief overview of some of the initial discussion, at least the materials which we share, so that people also, in case they don't have immediate feedback, but they still are able to go through the materials which are being generated throughout the Tangent project. And with that, I would like to say thank you, especially to our speakers first, and also the audience for keeping this session very interactive. And also we had a nice overview of the Tangent tool, and at the same time, how the case studies were implemented and what feedback we got from the case study partners in Tangent. And okay, we have some clapping hands for the speakers and everyone here present. So thank you very much again for your participation. And hopefully we see each other somewhere in the solving the urban mobility challenges around Europe and even internationally abroad. So with that, I would like to end the webinar, and thank you again, everyone, for your presence.